starter next week? And if so, what will the challenge be, now that more tape is out on him?
I'm gonna enjoy this one. I'm gonna go home and relax and be with my family tonight and enjoy this win and get ready for the week.
Okay, so Max, I'm going to start with you here. I just want to say Peterson obviously not ready to commit. He is 11-3 as a head coach when Carson Wentz does not start. With that being said, do you think the Eagles should trade Carson Wentz before the end of the season?
Sure, they should trade Carson Wentz. Yeah.
No, Max.
I'd like to play center field. I'd like to play center field for the Yankees. It's just not in the offing, Like, the bottom line is you can't trade Carson Wentz. You won't find a single taker in the NFL because he stinks. That's why. And the reason is, you see Doug Peterson right there? To me, that looks like a head coach who's not allowed to make that decision. I don't think it's his call. I don't think he has the autonomy to do it. This is a guy who couldn't choose his own staff, right? Who even after you see every single time they put another quarterback in, the team functions better. The team functions better without Carson Wentz. This is going back to Nick Foles' Super Bowl run, then Nick Foles the next year. When they were dead in the water, under 500, they functioned better without Carson Wentz. And now I don't want to hear anything about the offensive line, which is 11th in win rate in terms of pass blocking, and even better for the run. But 11th in win rate in terms of pass blocking. How many times, the offensive line's no good. It's not Wentz's fault. It's not Wentz's fault. Really? Really? So I guess if you put a second-round pick quarterback rookie making the first start of his NFL career behind that line against the NFL's best defense, he's going to get killed. How many times was he sacked? How many times was he sacked? He wasn't sacked. Why is that, I wonder? Yeah, his mobility, does that help Miles Sanders when he freezes linebackers because he keeps the ball? Oh, he might keep the ball. Sure, that helps Miles Sanders. Does it help him avoid sacks? I suppose so. Could Randall Cunningham move? Could he? Because he was sacked behind an Eagles offensive line one year 60 times. He was sacked another year 72 times. Don't just tell me it's because he's mobile that Hurts didn't get sacked. Why did Josh McCown achieve the same result against Seattle in the playoffs last year that Wentz did in Week 12 against Seattle? A 40-year-old quarterback with a bad leg. Why was he able to do it? Because the team functions better with a quarterback who will run the coach's offense, which Carson Wentz obviously refuses to do. He's being protected, I think, by the owner. I think Coach is shook. I don't think Coach has autonomy. That's what it looks like to me. He's being protected in the press. Everyone's singing his praises last year when he was no good at the end of last year. He's ruined as a quarterback. I don't see, and if you do think he can get back, it was a 3-year process to get to this low. It's going to take a long time to build back up. Of course you trade Carson Wentz if you could, but the fact is you won't be able to. No one wants that guy.
Well, first of all, you've already trained us not to take you seriously about anything you say, because you'll sit up there and acknowledge emphatically about how you feel, and then when you're proven wrong, you say oops or whoops, and then you want to move on.
In this case,
okay, so we ain't buying that, because all of this bluster and this pomp and circumstance that you're giving us. Now, hold on, if next year Wentz stays in Philadelphia, how much you want to make a bet? Max is gonna go like, whoops. And then, Max, did I leave it out? Remember when you hit from the camera? Remember that with Kawhi, too? You said whoops, and then you hit from the camera? Remember that, too? So let's not forget that. That's what you did.
But this is time for you to hide from the camera.
Now let's also say, we let you speak, zip it. We heard you, zip it. We ain't interested. We're just stop it. Here's the deal, Max Kellerman.
Shameless.
When Carson Wentz turns 28, December 30th, we know he's awful this year. Congratulations. You were right about that. But last year when he was awful, we still disagree about what we saw from the standpoint. You got third stringers off the practice squad that he got to throw to. Deshaun Jackson's out. Nelson Aguilar's out. Alshon Jeffrey's out. I mean, you just look everywhere you turn. Everybody was getting injured. And so they asked him to play hero ball. Now this year, that's different, because this year there's no excuse for him to regress as bad as he has. But I can't look at him at age 27, who's a former top 2 candidate for league MVP. He ain't even turned 28 yet, and say he's finished. He's finished when I just gave him in June of 2019, $107.9 million. And I'm going to say a year later, he's done. I can't do that, Max. I can't do it. I can't.
Stephen A., you know what? Real quick, Ryan, I just got to say this. What Howie Roseman needs to say is what about that contract? There's one short word that'd do it.
What did you say?
No guesses?
No,
Whoops.
I got no guesses.
He needs to say whoops.
No, we ain't
Stephen
can't
A.,
guess what
just
you
try
have
it.
to say.
Say whoops.
Say it.
Matt,
Fix your mouth to say whoops. You'll like it.
Whoop.
It's obvious. Whoops. Just say it.
Hey,
I got it.
You know
I got
what's
it. I should have guessed that. I should have guessed that. I should have guessed that. My bad.
That was a good one.
I got it.
So here's the.
That's a good one.
here's
That's a
the-
good one.
The problem. The problem here is this: we don't know enough about Jalen Hurts, right? Like when you see him play one game, I think Doug Peterson called a fantastic game. If you're the New Orleans Saints, you didn't have any tape on it. You didn't know what it should look like. But if you're Sean Payton, you should watch it and do more of that with Taysom Hill. And so you watch the first game and you say, okay, let's see if it's sustainable. Let's see what happens when somebody has some film on it, when they kind of understand what Jalen Hurts is going to do. So I can't unequivocally say Jalen Hurts by himself playing is the reason that the Philadelphia Eagles won that game. But you know what I can say? You know what I do believe? That Carson Wentz not playing is the reason the Philadelphia Eagles won that game. Because Carson Wentz playing gives you interceptions. It gives you sacks. You don't see the team really rally around him in this way. It's not that spark plug from the quarterback position. But I know when Nick Foles did it, I saw all those things. When Jalen Hurts going against the New Orleans Saints, who are playing the best football in the league defensively, holding people to a per play average that would have every team they've played worse than the Jets since week 5, they couldn't stop him. And when he needed to make a play, when the New Orleans Saints were coming back, when they were only down 3, he leads a touchdown drive with his legs, with his mind, making the right decision, with accurate throws in the intermediate and short areas. And so when I look at what Jalen Hurts has been to this offense, and it's only been 6 quarters, what I say is it's not what Jalen Hurts is, right? It's not what he is, but it's the things that he possesses, the things that he won't do that Carson Wentz does. And so Carson Wentz ain't the quarterback for this team, and it might not be Jalen Hurts. But here's what's going to be hard. When you've been with someone and you've built a relationship and they have made tons of deposits into your emotional bank account, it's hard to let them go. It's hard to let go of what you thought about Carson Wentz when you drafted him, number 2 overall, and when you gave him $109 million guaranteed. Because you're going to forever think about those things and what he could be. And if Carson Wentz goes off, if you get this divorce or you get this breakup and Carson Wentz goes off and he gets into another relationship and that relationship turns him into the swan, into the best spouse ever, and he returns to that MVP form, you're going to regret it. And so that's what's going to keep the Philadelphia Eagles from letting Carson Wentz go. They're going to be so scared that he can be great somewhere else that they're going to forget how bad he's been in Philadelphia. Carson Wentz should be traded at the end of this season. Not because Jalen Hurts is your guy, but because Carson Wentz is not.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I agree with everything except for the they. I think that's not specific enough. I think they, who's scared, is Jeffrey Lurie, is the owner. I can't believe it's the GM or the GM wouldn't have used a second-round pick on a quarterback. And I don't think it's the coach who, to me, looks clearly conflicted and doesn't seem to have the power to say what's on his mind. He's holding back the words. He won't even praise Hurts, really. He says, well, it's a team
He won't even say he's the starter this week.
The team performed so much. He won't commit to starting him. You must find out what you have with Jalen Hurts going forward this season to see if you have to draft another quarterback. Because, guys, Carson Wentz ain't it. And if Jeffrey Lurie's got that whole organization shook, and he's too scared to see Carson Wentz maybe succeed somewhere else where I don't think he will. But if he's so scared, then he deserves the fortunes that are coming to that franchise, which is to say
there's a lot of
bleak years ahead.
There's a lot of ifs in your soliloquy. Bottom line is this. The man is approaching 28 years old. All I'm asking, Ryan, is this. This is all I'm asking. We all know Carson Wentz stinks this year. We understand it. We get it. I'm saying this is not a guy that never had it. Once upon a time, 2+ years ago, he was a top 2 candidate for league MVP. So I'm asking a simple question. Because it's a difference, Ryan, and I'm asking you specifically. It's a difference between someone who never had it and someone who had it but lost it and they're still under 30 years of age. Are you telling me we're able to look at him and say it's time to give up? Not on this season, because I know this season. No, bench him for this season. But are you saying it's done? Get him out of Philadelphia? And he's only going to be 28 years old?
So Stephen A., on Twitter one day, I posed a question. I said, have we ever seen a dude playing at an MVP level like Carson Wentz fall off this fast, this much? And it was hard for me to come up with names. And the only two names I could really come up with was watching RG3 his rookie year and then seeing what happened the next 2 years following his career. He kind of never got it back. And then watching Cam in 2015, and it took a little longer, and it took about to 2018, and seeing where he is and him maybe not coming back. That's all I've ever seen. And so when I watch Carson Wentz fall off to this point, I do say that he's still young. I do say that he still has talent, but I don't believe it's fixed in Philadelphia. I don't believe it's fixed under that umbrella. I don't necessarily want to give up on him and say he's over. I just don't know how it works there, and that's what matters.
But it's going to cost you $59 million if you let him go. It's going to cost you $59 million if you let him go. And then Max, I'll give this to you. And then Max,
if you start. 1 second. If you start Jalen Hurts the rest of this year and he plays well, you're saying you go into the next season with either one, having a quarterback controversy, which you shouldn't if Jalen Hurts plays well, but two, having Carson Wentz in the quarterback room as the backup quarterback? Hell no.
Yeah. Listen to what I'm saying, Ryan. Listen to what I'm saying, Ryan.